Hey team, inside of this training, we are going to be talking about the importance of a payment terminal. So this is going to be the macro overall understanding. So that way, once we get into the tactical of actually setting up your payment tutorial, right? So your payment terminal, we're going to go ahead and talk about that in just a second. But right now, once you understand the importance of it, then you'll be able to go ahead and really make sure that you set this up properly because you understand where it actually falls in your entire system. So in the previous section, we did go ahead and talk about setting up your payment processor, okay? And now we're going to go ahead and talk about setting up your payment terminal that you're going to run those payments through. So this is what the actual visual looks like, okay? So you have your payment processor, and then on top of your payment processor sits your payment terminal, okay? So that way all of your card transactions, all of your money flows from your terminal into your payment processor, and then the payment processor works with the card companies and the banks in order to be able to go ahead and get that money accordingly, right? Now, it's very important to understand that these are two separate things, your processor and your terminal. In the same way, when you go to a store, right, that machine that you swipe your card on, that's the actual terminal that is then sitting on top of the payment processor. Now, one thing that you should also know is that sometimes payment processors also have payment terminals. So in the case of Stripe, they also do have a payment terminal product. And so now the question you might have is, hey, why don't we just use Stripe as the payment terminal as well as the payment processor? Okay, so again, if you will recall from the previous training, right, we do recommend using Stripe as of right now as the payment processor. But why do we not recommend it to use it as the payment terminal? Why is that the case, right? The reason for that is because yes, it's okay in emergency situations, but it is not recommended for normal situations because number one, there are additional fees. So Stripe, in addition to their processing fee, will charge a payment terminal fee, right? So already we talked about, hey, there's some processing fees that you just cannot get over. You got to get over it. It's just a part of being in business, right? However, if you can try and get away from the terminal fees, why wouldn't you, especially if there are other options? So these small percentages, they can add up. And so it's not that we're just trying to save and not nickel and dime at all, but at the same time, we don't want to be completely oblivious and just be like, oh yeah, you know what, it doesn't matter left and right. There are certain costs of doing business that we have to accept. Payment processing fees, for example. But that does not mean that we should just get gouged everywhere left and right? And so therefore, one of the reasons why we recommend not using Stripe for the payment terminal is because of those additional fees. Another reason is because you don't have that integration with the agreements and the legal side of things, okay? And so what happens is that obviously Stripe is a massive payment processing company. They are not specific to individual business models. There are literally a gazillion different types of businesses that use Stripe. Now, in our business model, right, the one that we're talking about, typically there is going to be a customer onboarding, there is going to be a legal agreement, there's going to be a new client agreement, right? And again, we're going to walk you through all of that and setting all of that up in an upcoming training. But the thing is that there can be automations and integrations with that. Now, Stripe doesn't have anything to do with that. They don't know that that's what you need. And so when you have everything in one place, like we're going to go ahead and recommend in just a second, then you can actually have that integration versus if you use Stripe as the payment terminal, you're not going to have that integration, right? In addition to that, the customer information. So Stripe, they only have access to payment data. They are not connected to the customer messages, the interaction, if the customer has to change their payment date, all of that. They have no idea what's going on inside of your business platform with the customer data, with the CRM. And so as a result, if you try and use Stripe as a payment terminal, which again is not what we recommend, it's only for emergency use cases, right? Not to run your business day to day, then they are not going to have access to that customer integration. Now, in addition to that, now, of course, there's many reasons why you wouldn't want to use Stripe as a payment terminal. But in addition to that, one more is that there's no automations, right? So if a customer's payments fails, you have no way to be able to automatically put them into a failed payment campaign. You got no way to be able to communicate with them through text or email because Stripe, again, is, yes, they're primarily a payment processor. That's the bulk of their business. They don't do payment terminals as the bulk of their business. And so that's why it's much better to use a tool that is going to allow you to have better invoicing, better automation, better customer data, and all of that. Okay, so what is our recommendation instead? We recommend that you use your business platform and your CRM as your payment terminal and have that connect to Stripe on the back end. And again, don't worry, we're going to show you how to be able to do all of this. So I know it sounds a little bit technical, but trust me, it's not. You're going to be able to learn this as a new professional business owner, okay? And so this is what that's going to look like. You're going to have your business platform, okay? And your business platform is going to house your customer data, and it's also going to be used as your payment terminal, right? So if you have a very good business platform and you do exactly how we recommend, then you're going to be able to have all of this set up properly, because our recommendations, we've thought about this, we've been in the industry for a very long time. We know what the best recommendations are because we've done the hard work already to figure this out, right? So we know, hey, what are the business platforms that are going to have the terminal, that's going to have the integration, it's going to have the customer data. It's a system that you can just plug and play and run with your business and worry about the things that you need to actually worry about in your business, okay? So you have the business platform, and that is then what's sitting on top of your payment processor, okay? So when you get your payment terminal built into your business platform, it's all connected to your customer data, and you get the best of both worlds, right? And that's all connected to Stripe on the back end. So you still get the ease of use that Stripe allows you to be able to get up and going as a new business owner without ever having to actually log into Stripe, because all of that is shown inside of your business platform, okay? So a good business platform will also have invoicing. So I know we've been talking about the payment terminal. So payment terminal is kind of like where you go ahead and have the customer charge the card, right? But then invoicing, in addition to that, is sometimes a separate software, right? So being able to send the email invoice out, have all of that connect, XYZ. So a good business platform will, in addition to the payment terminal, also include the invoicing software. So all of that is under one house. So it's very easy for you to go ahead and text or email the invoice, especially if you're doing high ticket sales, to your clients. And then you can have all of that attached to your legal agreements as well. So again, if you have a very good business platform, that's going to also, again, save you from having to purchase another software that could be an additional $20 to $50 per month just for an invoicing software. So then you're going to have an invoicing software here, and you got a payment terminal here, then you got your payment processor here, then you got your legal and contracts in another software. It's better to have it all housed inside of a business platform and all in one place. And so that's the reason why we do the vetted work, and that's why we recommend ClientKit. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and walk you through how to get this set up inside of ClientKit and how to be able to get the invoicing and payment terminal set up. But this specific training video that we were talking about is just the importance of the payment terminal, what the payment terminal is, where it houses itself, and some of the things that you want to be working through. Because remember, like, hey, you're a business owner, you're going to be a business owner, hopefully for a very long period of time in your career, right? And so, yes, right now, we are your mentors, we are your educators, we're walking you through this process. But you want to understand how all of this works in a business perspective. So independent of the business platform, independent of ClientKit, independent of us, independent of anything, you have acquired the skill and understanding to be able to go out there and do this for yourself. And that is what is paramount. And that is what is number one, the most important thing, right? And so that's the reason why we want to make sure that we are educating you, not just tying you to our hips and saying, hey, do this, do this, do this. And then you're so zoomed in that when you zoom out, you're like, okay, I have no idea how or why any of this actually works or why it was important. So when you do it properly, that is when you're acquiring the skills as a business owner. And guess what? Those skills that you learn as a business owner are what cannot be taken away from you, regardless of the economy, regardless of the country, regardless of the government. It's the skills that we acquire as business owners in terms of understanding how and why and how everything works that allows us to be able to be recession proof. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and cut out over here, and we're going to go over to the next training, which is going to be talking about the how-to step-by-step tactical of getting your payment terminal set up. We will catch you in the next training. All right, welcome to this tutorial that's going to be walking you through setting up your payment terminal, your invoicing software, so you can do that on top of your business platform and have that all integrate with your payment processor. So the couple steps that we have inside of the guide, what you're going to first go ahead and do is you are going to go ahead and go over to your ClientKit account and log in. And then what you're going to go ahead and do is here on the left side, they have a section that says payments. Now, I will go ahead and preface by saying this is that ClientKit They change their UI sometimes, just like all software companies. And so sometimes based off of when you're going to be going through this tutorial, it may look a little bit different, but again, you will be able to go ahead and navigate your way around. Okay, so you're going to get the idea, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through what it looks like right now, but it may change in the future. Okay, so you go over to payments, and then the tab over here says invoices. Now I am in a random test account for one of our older, so this is NutriFit Wellness over here. And what you can see over here is that from the right side, you can just go ahead and click on new. And I want to go ahead and show you a couple of things here, right? So let's say we go ahead and click on new invoice. Right over here, it's going to take us to a screen where we can actually go ahead and mess around with what the invoice is actually going to look like, right? So this is where the address would be. This is where the logo is going to be. I'll show you where to go ahead and change that in just a second. And then right over here, if you hit add client, you can see you can go ahead and add a number of clients over here. You see we got some tests, LeBron James, Elon Musk, Dwayne Johnson. So we can go ahead and add different people in here, right? So let's say, for example, we're going to bill Elon Musk, and then we can add an item, and then whatever that item might be. So let's say, for example, it's our coaching program or it's our transformation product or whatever, and we can select a price underneath that as well. And then we can actually go ahead and add a new item right from over here if we wanted to do it on the fly, right? And then we could save that for later use. So this is what the initial invoice would look like. And then if we hit the three dots over here, we can get a preview what it would look like for the actual client. If we wanted to record a payment as if we got the payment offline somehow, we could do that there. We could save this for further use in the future if we wanted to, right over here. And then if we wanted to go ahead and send it, it would go ahead and send it over to right here. Please add at least one item. So let me just add one item over here. So let's say it's save. And then if I hit send, you'll see that it gives me a couple different options here, right? So I can go ahead and send it to Elon via email and text. I can send it only via email, only via text, right? It has his numbers already integrated in here. And so again, this is the benefit of having a terminal that hooks up to your CRM, to your business platform, to all your contact information, is because when you are sending these invoices, it's not only through email, you can do it through multiple different channels, and you can even set up automations and workflows to be able to remind the customer to be able to go ahead and pay for the invoice XYZ. Now, in addition to that, right, if we go over here to additional options, right, so we can go ahead and test this, and we can put this in live mode or in test mode. We'll come back to this in just a second, because you are going to go ahead and in an upcoming training, test this entire system. And so you can put this into test mode and then test it yourself. Okay. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and save Elon the invoice and not send it to him right now, because what I want to show you is if we go back, the very first thing you want to go ahead and do here, okay, is that you want to go over to integrations, and you want to go ahead and hook up your payment processor, which you're probably going to be using Stripe initially. Now, in the future, we are working with partners to be able to go ahead and provide our community with access to other payment processors, because sometimes Stripe can be a big pain in the butt to work with, because sometimes they can ban accounts, XYZ. So there is some nuance to this, but for right now, as of recording this, Stripe is going to be the main one. And then of course, if there's any changes to this, we will go ahead and annotate it around the training, but primarily Stripe. And then you can go ahead and other payment processors can use NMI, Authorize.net, XYZ. And then there is a legacy one here for PayPal, but again, we do not recommend or use PayPal. Typically it is going to be on Stripe side of things. And then you can also register domains if you wanted to go ahead and use Apple Pay. There is an entire process for that as well, which we can make a different tech tutorial if necessary. So let us know if that's something that you need. Okay, so integrations, Stripe right over there. That is going to be the first thing that you want to do. Then you go over here to settings. And then when you get over here to settings, you can actually go ahead and upload your logo. And so this is the reason why earlier when we were talking about the business basics, it is very important to make sure that you get your business logo rocking and rolling. So that way you can go ahead and have it as an asset to put into different places, right? So you go ahead and put your logo over there. That's going to make it very easy for it to go ahead and show up inside of the invoice. Now, a couple other things I want to show you here is that when you go ahead and put your mouse over invoices, there is all invoices, which shows you just all of the invoices that were sent XYZ, right? Then there are recurring templates, and then there are templates. Now, this is important if you are going to be selling a product that is going to be recurring. So let's say, for example, you're going to sell a membership, a monthly membership, XYZ, something like that, right? So what you can do is you can actually create a recurring template for that, right? So if I go ahead and put, this is a new invoice right here, send a one-time invoice to the customer right away. or send a recurring invoice to the customer at scheduled time. So there's two different options over here. And so the recurring template is going to be for that option, right? So how often, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, XYZ, the start date, whether the end date is going to be, send the invoices how many days in advance. All of that is going to be what you can go ahead and program over here. Okay. So again, I'm just walking you through the overall of what the payment terminal looks like, how to be able to get used to all of the different features. So that way, as you start to play around with this, because again, remember, you're a professional business owner and your primary skill set is problem solving, being able to be resourceful, right? So we're nudging you in that direction. And then of course, if you have any other questions, we can make further trainings to support you along the way. But I just want to get you an idea of how the actual payment terminal looks and works. Beautiful. Now, next up, I also want to go ahead and show you. So we got contracts. We're going to have a whole separate training on talking about contracts and legal agreements. We already have something prepared for you as a template, so you can go ahead and have that in there. We'll go back to that in a little bit. Then you have orders over here. You then have your subscription. So let's say you have people on subscription. It would show all of those active subscriptions right over here. You have transactions. So these are going to be transactions that are made as single payments. Now, the other beautiful thing about this is that if you do go into the actual contact record of any single one of the people who have an order, a subscription, a transaction, whatever it might be, it will also show up inside of the contact record, which again is the reason why we highlighted the importance of using a payment terminal that is integrated with your business platform, because having all of this allows you to be so much more organized, because you want to be busy growing your business. You don't want to be busy organizing to grow your business, right? And so that's why it's so important to make sure that you are setting yourself up with the right tools. Now, in regards to products, I did also show you how you can set up the products on the invoices side. However, you can also go ahead and pre-configure those products right over here, right? So if you click add a product, you can go ahead and add the product there. If you want to add an image, you can add, the product type. If it's a one-time, if it's a recurring, all of this you can set up ahead of time if you would like. Or again, like I showed you earlier, right? You could go over here. Let's go over to the Elon invoice that we were in. If I edit that one here, you can also go in when you hit add item, you can go ahead and add a new item and save it for later also right there. Okay. So that's another part that I wanted to show you. Of course, any one of these invoices, if you go over here, you can edit them, you can delete it, you can clone it. Let's say, for example, you made one for one customer and you wanted to convert that into a template. So you could go ahead and convert it into a template right away, right over there, if you didn't want to go ahead and make it as a template elsewhere, right? So you could do that as well. So the biggest thing I want you to understand here is that as you're going through this, you can go ahead and test this entire system. We're going to have another training to walk you through testing this, but I want you to be able to understand how all of this works and how you can actually go ahead and charge the card and do all of that as well. So let me show you. If I go over here to edit, and then if I go ahead and I actually go ahead and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and record payment. So let's say I don't want to send this over to the client. I want to go ahead and record the payment right now, right? So let's say, for example, I'm going to charge the card. Well, you click on that. In this case, Elon doesn't have his credit card saved inside of the business platform system. So I do new card, and then right there, I can go ahead and charge the card if that's maybe over the phone or over Zoom, XYZ. Now, typically for the purposes of safety, we do recommend sending over the invoice to their email or their text message. They go ahead and fill it out and do that on their side, and then their card information is saved in the system. But I just want to show you some of the different ways that can happen as well. Okay. And then of course there is the record manually. Now, again, we've talked about why you need to be a professional business. You don't do, all these other random ways to collect money. But however, in some business models, that is the case where you receive cash or check or other modalities. Of course, that option is there to be able to go ahead and record the payment as well for the proper record keeping. So our recommendation as you are going through this is that we would recommend, as you go into your ClientKit account, go over to contacts, add yourself as a contact. So that way you can go ahead and start to get a feel of, okay, let me go ahead and add a new invoice. Let me go and add myself as a contact. Let me see how all of this is going to work. And then of course, if you click over here on settings, this is another part I wanted to show you, right? So if you click on settings, you can also go ahead and change your business logo over here. You can go ahead and change your business name, your address, all of that information that would show up on the invoices. You can change that specifically under settings here in invoices, right? So if you go invoice title and terms, you can go ahead and put some terms at the bottom if necessary. Now, these are all features that, of course, ClientKit is doing an amazing job of always continuously adding onto their platform. And so as these features roll out, if we find best practices, we will go ahead and make sure that we release those if necessary as well, right? So we got invoice title and terms, due date settings, you can go ahead and set the default for those as well. Custom fields if necessary. Again, these are all advanced features. We can do additional trainings if necessary for those. those. Notifications as well, some of the notifications that somebody might receive once they go ahead and actually pay the invoice, as well as the team notifications when an invoice is successfully paid. What does all of that look like as well? Okay, so again, this is just the overall video of the payment terminal. There's a lot of advanced settings that we can get into later on, in addition to some really awesome automations that, hey, when somebody pays their invoice, then automatically to go ahead and send them maybe a legal agreement or vice versa. Also, potentially you can set up automations around literally an unlimited, anything you can imagine under the sun level of automation, right? So somebody pays the invoice, it automatically goes ahead and sends them a link to their onboarding homework, or creates for them an account in the coaching platform, or XYZ, right? So there's so many different ways that this could actually happen. So biggest thing is that there are some additional questions here and some additional prompts inside of the guide if you wanted to follow along there. Now, if you do have any issues or questions, you do want to make sure when it comes to the invoicing feature, because remember, ClientKit is a different company. We are not ClientKit, right? And so what we do is we're always going to tell you first line of support is to reach out to ClientKit. They're going to know their platform better than we are. And so they do have the support right over there. So you can go ahead and chat with an agent, or a lot of the times, if you just go ahead and click on search for help, and let's say, for example, I type in here invoices, right? So they got invoices overview, recurring invoices, managing auto pay. You see, they have a lot of different options on here that'll walk you through exactly how the invoices feature and all of that actually works as well. And then again, they also do have, I believe if you click on this, they walk you through a number of guides. So if you go over here to payments, they have a number of guides that'll walk you through some of these features as well. So if you just give it a second, it should load. Just like that. So you'll see on here, it'll walk you through next, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just click on this very quickly. So you get the point, right? So there's a bunch of support that they have that they'll be able to walk you through. And then they also have their support agents that they will be able to help you as well. So we are not ClientKit. However, we do our best to go ahead and walk you through to get you that initial launch ramp to be able to understand how the platforms actually work and how you're going to be able to use it inside of your business. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the setup for the payment terminal. Just the biggest things, make sure get the integration live. Make sure you go over here into, oh, they got settings over here as well. Okay, see, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Settings, they got receipts if you want to go ahead and enable receipts for automatic payments. Okay, this is right as I was closing right here, right? So you got a bunch of other things that you could do here as well. But the settings that I was looking for was this settings right over here, right? So you can go ahead and change your settings, do the integration, mess around with the settings, get your logo in there, get your business phone number, add yourself as a client, add yourself as a contact, and go ahead and play around with it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the setup for the payment terminal and the invoicing. And we're going to go ahead and continue on to the next training. It's going to walk you through taking everything through a test drive. So with that being said, we will catch you in the next training. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this training that's going to be talking about testing the entire setup. Now, this is so absolutely important, right? You do not want to find out that your setup is not working properly at the time that you are looking to collect the money from your customer, okay? So here's the thing. Once you have your payment processor set up and you have your payment terminal set up, right? This is what we have walked you through in all of the trainings thus far. We recommend doing a live test, or you can do it in test mode. It doesn't matter. It's totally up to you if you want to do either or, okay? However, now that you have it, right, you got to go ahead and say, okay, if I do the invoice and then I'm going to do ClientKit and then I'm going to do, it's going to go to Stripe and it's going to go to the bank account, right? So it's important to test all of it. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and set up an invoice. You want to put that invoice to yourself, okay? And then what you can do is you can actually go ahead and put it into test mode. And let me show you what that would look like, right? So let's say, for example, you're going to put yourself as a test. Let's just say hypothetically, Adam Jacob, and then we're going to just add a, product over here, or you can just add a new item and make that $1. If you actually want to do a real live test where it's actually going to charge you $1, you could do it that way as well. And then when you go ahead and put over here, send, you can put that into test mode, right? So it flips the switch over to test mode, and then that way it would not charge the card. However, if you do the $1 method, you can go ahead and actually charge your card and see, hey, you know what? I want to make sure that it actually goes through from ClientKit. It then goes over to Stripe. And then once it goes over to Stripe, Stripe goes ahead and disperses it into your bank account. And you can see that amount come in. It'll be $1 minus whatever Stripe fees there were. And so that way you can see the entire test A to Z to make sure that it does in fact come through to your bank bank account. Again, the importance of this is you want to do that end-to-end test properly, so that way you can make sure that the entire system is operational and is working properly the way that you want it to, right? So you come over here, look at the preview of the invoice, make sure that that looks good, make sure everything, everywhere that you are looking at, the settings, whatever it is, you just want to do an overall test to make sure that you are live and good to go. So that way, when it comes time to actually be working live with your clients, you know for a fact that the system is in fact working. So that is this quick training on just making sure that, hey, a reminder, test the entire setup, go through the entire process yourself, put yourself as a contact so you can make sure that you are good to go and you are golden. With that being said, we will catch you in the next training.